Yeah. What are you talking? How come pay a salary?
What, Mum?
Military. Have you married?
Really?
How do you want to catch the ball?
Yeah, I'm chatting with my mates, Mum. I'm chatting with my mates and my friends
Right.
on my show.
Is he watching?
Yeah.
Right. Um, Thinker.
Who?
Oh, that's it. Sometime.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Big John here.
Who?
Big John, Mum. 4th of August it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Evening. So yeah, 4th of August, and I'm gonna go through the Ritchie report again. We talked about it last week. I showed the disparities were after the riots to just give the Muslim community millions to have their houses done up and things like that. And that didn't solve the issues. The same issues that happened then are still going on now. So it didn't solve anything. They give them loads of money. I showed you the statistics, so I'll just go through it again. So 2001, this comes from OMBC Housing Department. Number of grants for white people was 1,364, totaling 4 million. Bangladeshi 562, totaling 8 million. Pakistani 296, totaling 3 million. So there's a massive clear difference there. Now, you know, they obviously give that to the communities because they wanted to appease them so that they don't kick off again. There's no other reason.
Yeah.
Given all that money, and I've talked to people who said that like that money was just wasted money on a lot of things. Some had stuff done to their houses and stuff like that. But I reckon a lot of that money had just been pocketed. And I'm not gonna be. I'm not here to purposely upset or offend anyone. I'm just telling you the figures that are here. That's what upsets and offends people, and it upsets me. I feel offended that them communities got that much money. Nearly 12 million. And compared to the rest of the people in Oldham, it doesn't even come up to 5 million. So that should show you how appeasing our council is to certain sections of the community. It's just ridiculous. Well, on here, Chinese got one grant totaling 10,000, whatever that's to do with, I don't know. But
you got money.
This is how it is in Oldham. This is why people are angry. It's why people are pissed off. This is why people are always having to go at the Labour Council over this. So remember, the report states that the MERS, the deputy MERS house was firebombed. Now, it doesn't say who did it, but just a sentence after it mentions the British National Party, sort of like trying to make you think that they do it a lot. When a Root Shah's car were firebombed, first thing it's right wingers and it's the far right attacking her.
Yeah.
When it was people from who were similar to her from her own community. Then they went quiet and silent over that. Really good thing that Oldham always do is throw in the race card. Very massive thing that they do, throw in the race card.
You love nothing on your worth and have it. FEMA or something like read it.
There's always going to be a problem with reports and inquiries. No one's ever going to be happy. I don't know what's going on with Oldham now. I think I've heard that there is going to be another inquiry after all this. There's going to be another inquiry. Whether we get that inquiry, I don't know. So
well, I've got, yeah, I just think it's best if you should maybe.
Obviously, the NHPUK, we don't like to say words like race, and we say politically correct words. That's what we say because we're sick of them, and they just don't mean nothing these days. Over many years, the experience of Pakistanis and Bangladeshi people has been one of frequently encountered racism. This has often been name-calling, sometimes discrimination and racist attitudes. In all cases, deeply offensive, and it's led to fear and self-imposition, particularly by Asian women of all ages, of curfews which would not reflect the experience comparable groups in white community. Well, they said that, but there was Walter Chamberlain, racist attack. There's been plenty of a racist attack. The thing is, what this report is, another thing is that politically correct word racism only matters when it's white against black. But what they don't tell you is that you can be racist, you can be any colour or ethnicity and be racist. You can be racist you can be politically correct to white people. It works both ways, but you never see that out of the media. The media just target it that it's white people. That's what they always do. When in effect, the most racist people in Oldham are the Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. And I've met plenty of black African people or black people who are racist. But you'll never hear that off the mainstream media. It's not the narrative they want to show, do they? Remember, it's a white man who they want to put down as much as possible. They're not interested in anything else.
Oh, I don't know, really.
The next little bit says racism is not a one-way matter, which they're admitting. But there has been attacks on white people in Oldham. There has been, and normally it's not an attack on a well-built man who can look after himself. What they do, they attack old people. And how we know that is that Walter Chamberlain got attacked before the riots. And then let's zoom forward to 2018, and then there's 3, 4, 15-year-olds kicking in a 57-year-old guy at a tram track. You know what I mean? They do like to pick on the most vulnerable in our community. And obviously, the girls who've been targeted by rape gangs are some of the most vulnerable in our community. That's what they do. And, it's no other way. I could have 100 Pakistanis here telling me, and I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it, me. Just wouldn't have it because I know what they're like. And, our councils and the police aren't going to tell you this, but I know what it's like on the receiving end. I mean, I bet in this report it says nothing about LGBT violence against LGBT people. Of course, they have to say it's always white people. They never ever mention the Islamic community. They never mention in these kind of attacks. It's clear that the British National Party and other racist organisations, well, actually, the British National Party have never been convicted of anything, never been convicted of racism. So that is a wrong thing to say. And I'm sick of this branding. we should look at this carefully, whatever you think of them. But this is going on now in other things. This is going on in not political things. If you just complain about your neighbour, saying like they're throwing food out onto the path or something, you're going to get called a racist. That's how it goes here. It's gone beyond right and wrong. It's just gone to the fact that they want to say, and Oldham Council love throwing in that race card. So I'm going to see how the race card will get thrown in when I'm a councillor. What they're going to do? What they're going to start saying things like that to me? Sorry, my phone. But you know, it's what they use. So you know, you really need to like lift your chest up and stand up for yourself when you're getting called politically correct words. Honestly, you are. While I was in the council the other week, a woman said her house has been attacked and thrown. When I mentioned LGBT, I don't know whether she was LGBT, but that's what she said to me. I just wanted to get in contact with me, so maybe I can talk to her. Get some information on these attacks and stuff like that. But you know, like again, when it comes to the minority community in Oldham, nobody wants to say anything. Nobody, you know, they just want to blame everyone else, and I'm just sick of it. So housing, owner occupation remains a tenure of choice for most Pakistanis and Bangladeshis in town, and this too acts as inhibiting factor on people moving away from traditional areas. As do low wages and lack of savings, a high proportion of people own their properties outright. And there is a real reluctance for people to move into rented accommodation, even though it may be sounder and offer more space. 9,000 partially owned houses are unfit and 13,000 in need of substantial renovations. Now, I've been saying this about housing in Oldham. A lot of the housing are no good. And when I pointed to where we're going to build houses, I remember Paul, the boots are at, well, Oldham Council knocked down or demolished so many houses. Why did they demolish them though? And if you're talking about houses on Durka, a lot of them weren't good. They weren't good. They weren't insulated properly. A lot of them were run down. I've lived on houses in Durk. I've lived on London Road. I've lived on a few houses, the tourist houses, and I do believe that some of them tourist houses did need to come down. I've not looked into it, but it's not going to stop us building houses somewhere else. And if they want to build houses in Saddleworth, I'm all for it. What's happening in Oldham now? They're making houses of multiple occupation all around the town centre, which has just led in the years that have been doing it, it's just led to an increase in crime, making the town centre area one of the biggest crime areas in Greater Manchester. And they wonder why it's happening when they keep putting residential properties in the town centre. It doesn't work. If you want to look at another model, look at Manchester. And when I got stabbed in 2018 talking to the police, that's what a policeman said to me. He said residential properties in the city centre it's not a good mix. And it isn't. It just increases crime. So all you in Saddleworth, Lees, Shaw and all that, we're building houses, guys. And we're going to build them on your green land, on your brown land. Why? Because we've got unlimited immigration coming into the country, which is ruining our housing system. You heard Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative runner for leadership, immigration, housing. It's no good building houses if we don't stop immigration. And our party wants to end permanent settlement, no refugees, no asylum seekers. That's it. You know, with nothing else. Nobody's coming in and you can go out, but nobody will coming in. And obviously, we want just have one passport. You just have one passport. You've got two passports, you'll get the choice of like getting rid of one of them. You know what I mean? It's simple as, you know. But you know, that's nobody in Oldham will talk about this. I haven't heard any independent or any other political group in Oldham talking about housing, because they're not going to, because they're politically correct. And that goes to Pride of Oldham and every group fails with independence. I haven't seen anything about housing in Oldham or the need to build houses or anything. All you're doing is resisting these houses being built, and they're going to get built, guys. They're going to get built because you're not bothered about unlimited, low-level, unskilled immigration coming into Oldham. That's what you're not bothered about. Romanians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Kurds, Werner, Alexandra, all these are the most destitute, poorest wards in the United Kingdom. And you don't say anything about that, but you resist on house buildings. Now, Pride of Oldham and Saddleworth, if you was to say that you had a problem with immigration, you don't want any more because it's causing a lot of trouble and stuff, issues in Oldham, then I wouldn't have to say these things. But none of you are saying it because you just all want to suck up to the section of the community that the Labour Council's always sucked up to. What we need to do is start offending them communities by saying integrate better. That's what we've got to say, because they're not integrating. We know this through all these years, this report, everything to do with the riots. They're not integrating and need to integrate better. Your faith schools, what were it? Blue Coat School. It's not inclusive enough, so anyone goes there now. But you used to have to do 2 years at going Sunday school and to church before you could get in. And I've got friends who've done that 2 years, and now anyone can go in the school. You know what I mean? But can anyone go in an Islamic school? Will you have a Christian kid going in the Islamic school? Will you give him a little space so he can do his prayer, his morning, his Lord's Prayer? Because we have to bend over backwards for you to do your prayers. And one of the traditions we had at school was saying the Lord's Prayer when we come into school. So I want a Christian to go to an Islamic school, and I want a room or an area set out for him to do his Lord's Prayer, and then he can carry on doing everything. And you don't speak Urdu to him, you have to speak English, because you know these are the kind of things that the opposite side of the community demand of us. So why can't we set out of that side of the community? No, because it's politically correct, honestly. Honestly, I just don't get it. As you, if you know me well, I don't attack or single out particular people. I like to go against the council in general. I have mentioned particular people's names, but you know, look at the picture behind me. That's integration. That's the product of lack of integration in Oldham. The link to the Ritchie report is in the description. Just read through it and see what you think. But you know, they were the biggest causes of it. The M6, yeah, I do actually, yeah. Obviously, Birmingham, you travel down through M6 to get to Bath. I know they are local beardsmen. It's scary. And I've just been trying to talk to my sister about the walk people. Matt Spurs, yeah, 300,000 homes a year just to accommodate. You're right. And there is no influx there's no letdown in these immigrants being reduced in number. It's not happening. So, you know, where are they all going to go? We have to build homes. But the thing is, guys, that the people in Saddleworth and Shaw don't want the houses built. And Durker and Leeds don't want the houses built. They're complaining against them, but they don't complain against immigration, yet they complain against the houses being built. And honestly, if I ever get in that council, there won't be I won't allow any houses in the town centre. I won't allow any more to be built in that in Oldham town centre, because it's ruining it. And it leads to a very dangerous, deprived scruffy town centre, and that's what it leads to. It's just disastrous. So in the report, it says a targeted programme of house clearance and replacement of at least 300 houses a year compared with the current 20. This should be focused on Asian and white areas with the explicit aim of achieving racially mixed schemes of private and socially rented houses. Remember, that was one of the issues with the riots, was social housing, put them all in the same area, create and ghettos, but you're going to find that they don't want to move. They won't move into other areas. Litter and fly tipping have been a problem in parts of the town and source of some tension between its communities. Of course it is. When you used to, if you went down Ashton Road and looked, you went down Ashton Road and on the right hand side, you went behind all them shops. It was disgusting. There were big barrels of empty oil there, bags of rubbish and all that. They've just been chucked out by the people who worked in the shops. That's how disgusting they are. No thingy of like clean up. And it wasn't until the council went in, and I don't know if they threatened people or they threatened the businesses, that they started to clear up. And it goes on all the time. Fly tipping's amazingly bad now. A few years ago, there was an Eastern European who tried to run back to Romania to get away from a fly tipping charge. Honestly, he just couldn't make it up. And a lot of the people coming here, they don't care. They don't care. The people coming here now do not care about Britain. All they want to do is get an house, suck off our benefits. And, you know, some do work, but it's not as much as you think. I would think more people in a certain area, more people don't work than work. Coldest, Alexandra, Wearmouth, them are the areas. And most people do not work in them areas. They just suck benefits up and have free living. Of course, we've got our social care system is one of the biggest in the country. Why? Because we have so many inbred ingenerates in our town now. 50% of Pakistanis who live in England do still marry the first cousins, which is a bad thing. Oldham Council have to pay people to tell them not to marry the cousins. They pay Manchester University students to go and talk to people to tell them about first cousin marriages, but it's never going to change. If we look at the World Health Organization, they say that you can't do anything about honor and stuff like that. And that kind of honor is like forced marriages and all. That's what the World Health Organization, that's what it says in the pages about honor and like culture. Don't get involved, or we can't, there's nothing we can do. So that means all them girls are going to get mutilated. They're going to have more kids that are just genetic mistakes. And I'm not saying this on the point as like I'm a supremacist or anything. It's just biological fact that marrying your cousins or inbreeding is not good for genetics. It is not good. Anybody with any kind of biological history or anything like that will know that. And if you think that's not right, please put in the comment section, please, and come on and debate me, and I'll show you more focused evidence, more factual evidence about it. But if you disagree with me, join me. Housing segregation has led to a substantial degree of educational segregation in turn to a very low level of contact between most white people and most Pakistanis and Bangladeshis in town. Many youngsters reach school with limited, if any, command of English in the school environment. which for children of early immigrants provide plenty of exposure to English spoken by fellow white pupils, no longer has this effect in what are substantially segregated schools. White children, in their turn, are not mixing with children of Pakistani and Bangladeshi grounds, and therefore not learning about the culture of a significant part of the time. Some people don't want to learn about the culture. You don't want to learn about the culture, but let's just have a look at that bit. Many youngsters reach school with limited, if any, command of English. So this is 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, that's still going on. I've showed you this. I've showed you. Just let me get up. Just Big John don't talk shit. So that was 2001. So this is dated 2017. I'll put it in the chat. The title is Kids Get Dismal Start to School Life at Primary School Where Boys are Dominating the Playground. They don't learn English. So this is 2017. So where's the investment and all that report is talking about? It's not there. It's not in that. But 2017, honestly, you just couldn't make it up. You just couldn't make it up, this country. Good evening, Peter. So there's a link. Clarksfield Primary School, where there was a Trojan horse plot against the school, so-called. And so we're looking at the Ritchie report, which was 2001, and it's saying about many youngsters reach school with limited or any command of English. Even in schools, don't get taught it, like Clarksfield Primary School and one sec. So 2017, again, another faith school in Oldham where the kids are taught proper English. So they leave. This is a secondary school, this. So in the primary school, they're not learning, and in the secondary school, they're not learning. This is 17 years after the Oldham Bradford riots, ladies and gentlemen, and nothing's been done. Now, I'm going to bring up all this in the council when I'm going to bring this up about education. I'm going to say, well, why are they still not learning English? In the ICRA school and the Clarksfield school, the support teachers are not even hardly teachers. They've just done through one qualification to get into the bracket to go in, and even these people don't speak English properly. Now, you know, if you're in a school in Oldham, it should be taught by people who know the English language, not taught by Urdu people who speak broken English. I'm sorry. If it upsets minority communities, it fucking upsets you. And that, you know, I'm not meaning to. The evidence is all here why I'm upset. So why aren't other people upset? So we need to start offending and upsetting the minority communities by telling them to integrate better. Honestly, all these schools should be shut down. The story behind ICRA school is the council said you could have it, but it's got to be mixed, and it just ended up all girls. They're not going to listen. That community doesn't even listen to the council. Yeah, we'll have the school. Yeah, we'll make sure it's mixed. This is a story. I haven't got any conclusive proof, but the story is they said you could have the school as long as it's mixed, and it ended up just being all girls. So they're just taking a piss that section of the community. You know, I've never come to arguments with any Muslims on Facebook. I did in about 2015. I did have a bit of a disagreement with the Muslims on the right-hand side of Ashton Road were saying on Facebook, and I had issues with this, that they want to go over the road to the Eastern European side and burn all the houses down. I had a big issue with that. I had an argument with a guy. He threatened me. I told him which area I lived. I'm going to come up. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to threaten you. I'm going to burn you. I'm going to wipe your family out. Said all this, and then the post got removed or something like that, and I never heard of it again. But all because I just didn't agree with him wanting to burn houses down while people were in them. I just didn't agree with that. You know what I mean? And you know, I took a load of shit. I never threatened him back. But I just said, but you know, you're only big and hard because you're on Facebook, and you wouldn't say that to my face. But you know, I haven't had any issue with any particular people. I've got issues with some people in the council, like Councillor Abdul Jabbar, who walks around with convicted paedophiles who knew all about Shabir Daddy Ahmed and never said anything. And on the second meeting, he stood up and said a speech that lasted 1 minute. What I would expect from the Muslim Bangladeshi or Pakistani community is a massive speech, a big written report how they denounce everything to do with child sexual exploitation, but they don't, because they're the paedophiles themselves, aren't they? A lot of them. And they obviously, within their community, they're not going to say anything against their own community. That's why Shabir Daddy Ahmed's two daughters have to live away in fear of the lies from their own community in Rochdale. You just couldn't make it up, ladies and gentlemen. And these are the kind of people that our council just licking up to and sucking up to like there's no tomorrow. And it's, in the long run, there's no cohesion in Oldham. The tensions are still there. There's tensions with other sections of the community now, the Eastern European community. There was protests, and honestly, the Muslims wanted to go across the road and burn all the houses down. That's what they were saying on Facebook. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't think anyone got arrested for that tweet, because I remember I did report it on Facebook to Facebook. Really, I should have took a picture and gone to police, shouldn't I? Really, but I never thought about that then. So already we've only just started the Ritchie report, and there's things in it that are repeated. Remember the school bit, not even learning English. They don't learn English now at school. So what use was the report? What use are any of the things they said in the report? A guy said to me, some Muslim guy, when I put up about the riots a few years ago, he said that the council had put more into education. Well, they haven't, mate. They haven't put more into education because kids don't learn English. We've got so many unregistered and illegal Islamic schools as well in Oldham. They all want shutting down. It's another thing that I'm going to go after. I'm going to go after them. And don't think I'm picking on a particular side of religion. I've got a problem with unregistered and illegal Jewish schools in the UK. And there's a big thing going on in Hackney right now about these schools. So 2018, the government must act to help up to 1,500 Orthodox Jewish boys going to unregistered schools in the London borough of Hackney. And Ambrosine, Busker's bosom buddy. Oh yeah, it's been sorted out. It's been sorted out. It hasn't been sorted out. It hasn't been sorted out, Ambrosine. It hasn't been sorted out. And these are Jews. I don't care. You know, like, you live in England and you're running schools like this. It's not on, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what ethnicity. And like I said, I'll pick on Jewish schools. I'll pick on Islamic schools, which are the biggest of the lot in unregistered and illegal faith schools. There is Christian schools in that, but their number is minute compared to the number of these schools. And they're using a loophole. So that was 2018. 2020, no real progress in Hackney Council campaign to ensure kids are getting taught. So they're getting away with it. So they're getting away with it down London, they're getting away with it in Oldham. No. NHPUK as Prime Minister, all them schools would be wiped out. And you would only go to either a Christian school or a school for everyone else. But there won't be no Islamic schools, there won't be no Jewish schools or anything like that. You live in a Christian country, ladies and gentlemen. And, we want you, you've not integrated. You've not integrated. The Jews haven't integrated. If they're going to school and their kids aren't learning English, you're not integrated. The same with the Islamics, not integrating if the kids aren't learning English. So it's all going, all them will be going. And you'll be left, your choices of school will be a Christian school and just a regular school. But there won't be no faith schools, no Jewish faith schools or Islamic faith schools. Obviously, all schools should be governed by Ofsted. And why these are an issue is that these schools, Ofsted's nothing to do with them. Ofsted can't do anything. That's why they're bringing up about them. Same with the Islamic schools. It's just unbelievable. So it's not just even Islamic schools, it's other religions that are just taking piss and they don't integrate. And I'm sick of it, mate. I'm sick of it because that causes more problems than they think it solves. It just causes more problems. Obviously, in Birmingham, there was a school with the chop shop underneath it for cutting little girls' genitals while they went to the school that was being funded by the taxpayer. You know what I mean? Honestly, where's the integration in any of that? It's a joke, man. So going on about schools, so that section was going on about schools, and I've proved that they're not learning there. They haven't learned in 2017. I showed you them 2 links, and it just goes further than that. And I've got this particular school I'm going to talk about now. I've got a lot of the next school I'm talking about. So they spent 14 million of taxpayers' money pumped into one school, and it's a complete disaster. Now, I've put the link in the chat, and it's at the top of Middleton Road, opposite the swim baths. And it was shut, and it had only been open 2.5 years. Now, the contact I've got to do with that school was a contract cleaner, and somebody I've known all my life, and he was telling me how the kids just weren't just didn't bother. So they just walked in. They weren't asked to learn or anything like that. There's no white kids went to the school, unfortunately. No white kids went, but the kids weren't asked to learn. They treated the teachers with absolute disrespect, and they trashed the place every day, and he had to go and clean it up. So I know what that school's like. When it came in about the school, they got rid of all the teaching staff and put a new lot of staff on who were there till 2-3 hours after the school finished, sorting all the rubbish stuff that the kids just didn't learn. The kids are not in anything to learn. They didn't want to learn anything. You know what I mean? And we spent 14 million on it. No one mentions any of this. So we're talking about schools, and this is going on in Oldham now. And we're talking about 2001. So, we've got to look at, there's nothing, and I've said this, Labour, the council have never dealt with anything properly. They put stuff down on paper, it sounds good, but they haven't done nothing about it. They haven't done nothing about it. You don't get any of this off any of the independents, any of the other political parties. Not one of them mentions about these schools, not one of them. UKIP might have done a little bit, but nobody talks about them as much as me. They're not bothered. They're not bothered, and they wonder why we're in such a segregated town when kids aren't even learning English properly when they come out of secondary school. You just couldn't make it up. Nobody, not any of the independents, not heard anything of Pride of Oldham and Saddleworth, Fails of Independence, whatever other independents. Never heard anything off any of them. Not heard anything off the Conservatives, the Lib Dems. Obviously, Labour don't say anything because the majority of them in Labour are all right with all this. It's a joke. Our town is an absolute joke. And I will work with other people, but if you think that I'm going to be politically correct when you are, it's not. I'm not. I'm not a yes man. I'm a no man, or I'm a think my own way man, and I'm never going to be politically correct. So I do suggest to some of these independent parties, you need to look at your political correctness levels because they're high. You're afraid. You don't want to upset minority communities. The only way we're gonna solve what we've got here is by offending them, by telling them to integrate better, telling them to learn English better, telling them not to commit crime, telling them not to deal heroin, drug dealing in heroin. I was just talking, even though we've had the child sexual exploitation, I was just talking to somebody who was a 25-year social worker. And some of the stuff they told me was unbelievable. I mentioned about 90s sex attacks in the 90s, and this particular person said when the police came to the social services about young girls being attacked, they came with stacks of books on things like that of Asian men who were attacking girls in the 90s. I've gone on about this a lot, mate. Gone on about this a lot, and nobody seems to like be bothered about it because it happened then and a certain section of the community. But I remember guys coming down threatening to burn all the taxis because it were the taxi drivers who were committing these atrocities. And if you don't believe me, what I mean, it was the taxi drivers doing a lot of these atrocities. And we know that within the grooming gangs, one of the most important areas within the grooming gangs, the taxi drivers. Operation Sanctuary, there was 80 taxi licenses suspended or took off people who were just abusing and sexually assaulting girls. You seen how many people, 50 odd people, were arrested and charged. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, you hear about Sam and some of the other girls, and then the Rochdale 3, there was 9 men convicted when there was raped by hundreds of men. Hundreds of men. So whenever you see a report and a grooming gang of 5 men get convicted, just think about each of them girls have been raped 100 times. So it should be 500 men, but it never is. So we only see a small amount, which tells me that a lot of the men in that section of the community are paedophiles. It's easy to work out, and no one has ever. The thing is, nobody ever says anything to me. Nobody comes on, nobody emails me, nobody phones me up disagreeing with me. One guy said that Gavin Opley were killed by Bangladeshis. So I sent in the names of all the killers, and he apologized and said they were all Pakistanis. That's what I said. But the only guy who's ever said anything, a couple of comments on my YouTube, but nothing. But no one phones me up. I haven't been threatened. I don't particularly hunt down one particular person. I'm not going after a gangster called Imi, Irish Imi, or anything, unless he did something against me, obviously. But but no one ever comes on my streams. No one ever emails me. No one ever phones me up to talk to me about these issues. Why? It's because I'm right. That's why. That's because I'm right. It's because I'm right. Because I know what I'm talking about. I've shown the evidence, and I am exactly right in what I said. So, I mean, I've only great emphasis. So, key recommendations on the report. great emphasis is needed on raising the levels of achievement of ethnic minority pupils with clear targets set for all pupils. Well, that's failed because I've just showed you in 2017, 17 years later, that that's not happening. Better sharing of experience needed through use of an annual register of good practice. A firm push is needed on improving attendance rates, including truancy sweeps in conjunction with the police, and much tougher approach to extended holidays taken by some agents. So it was going on holiday in school time, yeah, and missing out on education. But we'll just stop there. So that's C, yeah. So I'll just stop there. Now I want to just find something for you. Let's see if I can find it. Just one minute. I've just got to find you this. So in Oldham, there was giving housing benefit to people who were in Pakistan, and you're only supposed to get so many weeks a year if you're on holiday. But there was giving them extra. There was giving them 15 weeks. I'm trying to. I know it's true. I've seen the link before. I know it's true, but it's been stopped now. But that's what they were doing for years in Oldham. So the kids weren't getting educated. They were going over there, coming back missing on holiday. So where's the integration there? Can anyone tell me where the integration is there? You know what I mean? It's such a subject. That what I found out about the Ritchie report is it covers everything within a town. It covers absolutely everything: education, housing, social development, antisocial behaviour, crime. It extends into all that. So if these kids aren't learning English, they're just going to go into crime afterwards. Honestly, you just can't make it up. It's going to take me weeks to go through this report. It will, unless I just miss things, but I shouldn't be missing anything. You know, I don't want to be, I don't want to sound nasty, but all this is already documented. And when I repeat it, I get called politically correct names. So why is that? How is that? How is that? You know what I mean? Let's look what the chat's been saying. Sorry, I haven't been keeping an eye on it. Arabic. Yeah, Matt Spurs. Boston, weren't it? Was it in an area called Boston? History Debunk's done a video on it. Let me just find you the video. It's scary. I'll just find you the video. If you haven't already subscribed to History Debunk channel, that's what you need to do. It does a lot of everything, but this is a channel that you really do want to watch some of his videos.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mum. I've put the link in the chat to the video, but the channel's called History Debunked. And if you want to learn about real history off a real history man, so watch his videos. It shows you how the history in our schools is changed. They tell a load of lies. Mary Seacole, the pioneer nurse, she never pioneered anything. She's wearing a nurse's uniform. She was never a nurse. When she tried to get into nursing, she was 49 years old, which is too old to be a nurse. And she didn't have any kind of formal nurse's training. She did have backyard medicine training and used mercury in some of her healing things, which is like deadly poison. But she was never pioneered anything. She never pioneered anything. But there's books in school showing you that she pioneered nursing. She never pioneered anything. Now, I'm all for if a black person has done something good, then to get it out. But don't lie to me. Don't lie to me and don't make things up because I will call you out on it. The Ivory Bangle lady, the lefties and David Ossologa says that it's a black woman from Africa, was from Cyprus. You know what I mean? There's loads to go on. I did some Mary Seacole videos, but I did them on Street Soldiers channel. But what I'll do some history videos on this on the NHP UK channel for you, and I'll show you the hypocrisy of what they're teaching our kids in school now, which is fake history, all lots of lies, and everything around it's about political, it's about racism for some reason. Don't seem like black people can write books on anything, but the racism they've dealt with and all that over their lives. Honestly, it's just unbelievable. History debunked. For now. Nobody can phone me yet. My credit's off till tonight. They do, Steve. I'm honestly, it's just unbelievable. But, I'm not gonna. I've said this many times. I don't particularly blame that section of the community. They took the piss, yeah. But our council hasn't dealt with this. Our council hasn't put anything down. Our council could have dealt with a lot of this. And the rape gang cases across the country, if the councils would not have been politically correct and the police had not been politically correct, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in now with these rape gangs. We just wouldn't. But it weren't like that. The councils were politically correct. The police were politically correct. They just didn't want to upset minority communities because that's the wrong thing to do. Even though it is the right thing to do, is to offend them so that they integrate better. I'm never going to change my mind on it. Like I said, I don't expect anybody to come and face me and challenge me on a debate or anything who are in Oldham, because there's not much you can do. Everything I say and do, I'm not opinioning things. I'm showing you actual facts of, I showed you about schools, where they said they're going to put into schools, yet the schools in 2017 that don't teach English to the kids. Nobody, I don't expect anybody really in Oldham to come and debate me. And I don't really expect it because, to a lot of them, they might see me as more far right, even though I never go on about the religion, never go on about the Quran. I never say, read the verses out where it tells you to throw gays off, treat gay people badly. I never read out anything of the Quran, or I never point to anything. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. That's not the issue I've got. The issue is with mainly white people being politically correct. That's what my issue is with, and these councils. But anyway, that's it for now. I will do another section on the Ritchie report again in a couple of weeks. But I think I'll do a Mary Seacole. I'll talk about Mary Seacole next week, the Ivory Bangle lady, David Ossologa, and a few other race-baiting people. David Ossologa's got an MBE or an OBE, he's got a top job at Manchester University. He's classed as a historian, but he's full of shit. He's absolutely full of shit, and I'll show you next week. I'll do the David Ossologa, Black and British, next week, and you'll see how fake and rubbish it is. But thank you very much for tuning in. This is Big John here. Our websites are due to be up and running soon. You can join the party. You'd have to pay subscription through PayPal. My bank details will be on the site because we're waiting on getting a bank for the party at the moment, but we're being knocked back left, right, and centre. But yeah, and our website will be up and running. We're going to have articles on it, obviously, just like any other website. We want to try and make up some group WhatsApp group chats for members and stuff like that. But we're looking at once you're a member, you'll be sent an email with a link to a WhatsApp group or something like that, or some kind of thing like that. We don't like to we don't want to talk about Islamophobia. We don't say them words. We say politically correct, and we're not in for throwing hate around anywhere. I want to go down the voting route, so hopefully my party's just ultra focused around local elections and getting elected and getting people to vote. But that's what we're going to focus to do. But thank you very much for tuning in. I want the lot sent back. Well, I mean, we're not going to do any forced repatriations, but we're going to be clear to people. Like these faith schools are going to have to go, and if they want to be in a faith school, they'll have to go back to their country to do their faith school. It's simple as that. You know what I mean? These are the kind of things. England, Britain is a Christian country. We're not a nation of immigrants. We're not a nation of immigrants. Everyone who's white is Anglo-Saxon, but we're not a nation of immigrants like they say. And if we are, we're only a nation of immigrants in the past few years. But you can go back hundreds of years in Britain, and we're not a nation of immigrants like the lefties say. We're Anglo-Saxon. If you've got English blood in you, you're an Anglo-Saxon. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. If you want to support our work or anything, the details around at the bottom. And mine and Pat's emails. We have officially had a couple of people join the party, but we've had to do it through an email and transfer this. But like I said, we'll have our site up soon, and then we'll have a record of everyone who's joined the party, and hopefully get some money together and we can start pushing our boundaries. We're looking at next year. They'll certainly be running in Oldham, Blackpool. There is nothing in London, in Pat's area, for the next 3 or 4 years, unless there's a general election or something. But we don't go in for them normally. But yeah, so we'll definitely be running candidates next year. But again, if you'd like to support us anyway, emails are there for me and Pat. Bank details and PayPal are at the bottom of the screen there. I mean, there is other ways you can help me. I could do with some ink. That's what I could do with. I do have a printer, but ink's expensive, and we've been printing out application form to apply by post to get your postal votes, and it costs money for me ink. So I might do a couple of posts and ask people to send me ink. That's what I want. HP 304. That's me ink cartridge. But anyway, thank you very much. Nearly an hour's up, and I will see you all Sunday. I'll be back on Sunday with a stream. I know I haven't done any for a couple of weeks. Been busy, but I'll be back on Sunday. But thank you very much.